Hello, everyone. I will get started here in just a second, and I give another minute or so to let other people join, and then we'll go ahead and get started. All right, let's go ahead and get started. Hello and welcome. Thank you for joining us today. My name is Ricky Weller. I am the Marketing Executive here at InfoAdvantage, and I will be your host. Today's webinar topic is AI Copilot Readiness. And before we I cannot talk already. Before we begin, a few housekeeping items. This webinar is being recorded, and we will share it and additional resources by email tomorrow, so look out for that. And then for the next 30 minutes or so, just please keep your microphones muted. And if you have any questions at any time, you can drop them in the chat or in the QA tab, and we're going to answer them towards the end of our presentation. Let's move on and meet our speakers. So joining us today is Nick Weatherwax, who's our Senior Director of Technical Solutions at InfoAdvantage. Nick, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. Hey, everyone. Super happy to be here, excited to be here to talk about a topic that I think we're all very curious about. I started with InfoAdvantage back in 2014. And what I like to say is I'm on my second tour of duty. So I worked at their help desk and worked my way up to kind of a mid-level engineer and moved on in between. I worked in manufacturing as well as healthcare. And now I'm back leading our service delivery team as well as product development. And I think that's very relevant for this conversation because we're trying to find ways where AI fits in the conversation and where that layers into our product stack. But maybe more importantly, how we're talking about AI in conversations with our customers and QBRs and really doing our job as a consultant first and foremost to help navigate the conversation around AI, specifically with Microsoft, which is why it's super awesome to have Julie here with us as a part of this webinar.
All right, I do see someone has their hand up. Dan, just want to make sure we answer your question before we proceed. Oh, accident. Got it. I do that all the time, so don't even worry about it. I know. Listen, sometimes the hand button is like near where I want to like exit the meeting, so I get it. All right, so Julie Hodge is here. And I've been in the industry, I'm going to say for decades, which makes me feel super old. So maybe I'll just say 2-ish decades. I actually started my career in distribution and I worked as general sales, and then I got into security, and then I got on the Microsoft team. And now I'm a funded Microsoft role at Ingram Micro, which is the largest global distributor for Microsoft. So it's great that I actually have a security background and the Microsoft background, because as you're going to hear with Copilot, you definitely need to consider both when you're looking into an AI strategy. So I just want to go ahead and thank you all for being here, and then let's get into it. And I would also say, if anyone does have questions, we have a Q&A at the end, but honestly, you can put questions in the Q&A or even in the chat. I think Ricky and Nick will be monitoring it, and when I'm not speaking, I'll monitor it. So we'll try to answer, otherwise we'll get to it at the end. But so the challenge with AI, everyone has heard about AI, everyone's asking about AI, and not really sure where to start. And so a lot of people believe that maybe as an SMB customer, you have a small business, you think, I don't know where AI can fit into my environment. Is it really necessary? I have people who can do things for me. And for me, the answer is yes. You definitely need to implement AI and see where it can help you automate processes, be more productive, have more time to do strategic initiatives. and be able to increase your business overall. And AI will be able to help you with that. Now, you may have heard of originally when Microsoft launched Copilot that there was just one SKU. It was Copilot for M365, but recently Microsoft launched a SKU specifically for SMB customers that's at a lower price point to help you get started with Copilot. So I love this slide because it's like, where can I use Copilot? Where Copilot wows. So whether it's drafting a white paper in Word or creating an interview guide with researcher, you can analyze data in Excel or analyzing with the analyst agent. You see analyst and researcher. Really just want to highlight that it's not a glorified Google search. It's not you're just putting something into Copilot, into AI, and asking it a simple question and getting the answer back. There is a lot of analysis and mechanisms going on in the background where you can ask it to reason over all your work to provide answers to you, and I'll show you more examples of that. One of the things that I use almost every day is be prepared for every meeting. I ask it to go through other emails and Teams chats of what we've talked about to get ready for a meeting, and then also the Copilot search. I mean, honestly, I save things in places and I'm like, oh, I'm going to remember where this is. And then I can't find it and it might spend 30 minutes. You can go into Copilot search and say, like, find the presentation that I did, 2 weeks ago on this topic. And it'll give you a list of all the things that it's found and the link right to it so you can get it. I mean, just that alone probably saves me 30 minutes a week. So back to this facilitator agent, if you're ever in Teams meetings. Now, like for me, I'm in Teams meetings practically 4 hours a day. I have meetings all the time. And I get these meeting invites from people. There's no information on it. There's no agenda. I have no idea what I'm getting into when I go into this meeting. So when you set up a meeting and you're using Copilot, you can establish an agenda based on the emails that have been going back and forth that requested this meeting. Once you send out that meeting and then you're in the meeting, the facilitator agent will turn on, it records the meeting. If you show up late to the meeting, you can come into the meeting and say, what did I miss? You ask Copilot what you missed, and it'll bring up the information that they've already talked about. So you don't have to interrupt the entire meeting and say, like, hey guys, sorry I'm late. And did we already go over this? Like, you don't have to announce that you're late and you can get the information you need. Facilitator will also keep you on track based on your agenda. So in case things like go off the rails in your meeting and you're talking about things not on the agenda, it'll actually give you a reminder of how much time you have left and how much space on the agenda you have. And then after the meeting is over, it has a meeting recap. You can send it out to everyone who is invited to the meeting, and then you can use that recap for the next meeting that you're going to have. So it's very helpful. I mean, I can't tell you how many times I'm sitting here trying to write notes in a meeting to then put in a recap to then send out to everyone. Basically, those steps are gone. So if you have in your organization, if you have Teams meetings, this is something that I personally would pay for myself if my company didn't pay for it. But when it used to be $30, and I would say for $1 a day, would I pay for this because it saves me so much time? The answer is yes, for sure. And then how do we know it works? Well, Microsoft is making everyone at Microsoft use it. So as you can see, across the board in different departments, they're all seeing positive outcomes based on utilizing Copilot in their environments. So again, people think of using Copilot. What comes to mind first is like marketing. Oh, it can help me make these great presentations and content and things like that. And the answer is yes, it can. And that is great. But there's also other departments that can also benefit from Copilot. And then the one I like to highlight is this human resources, where it says 42% greater accuracy in questions through self-service. I mean, just really think about that for a minute. If one of your employees was reaching out to someone in your HR and asking questions, I'm going to just guess that they're probably pretty important to them and they need the right answers the first time. They may be making life decisions based on those questions. And the fact that Copilot increased the accuracy by 42%, makes me worry that it was pretty bad before. But this is an easy thing that you can set up if you get Copilot in your environment. And think of how much time maybe someone in HR or someone in your office is answering HR questions. They can have an agent that'll put the question in, the employee puts it in, gives the output back, and it's going to be correct. So again, what would you pay for that to have the right information going out every single time? And again, just another example of once you get Copilot, these are the top 10 things that we recommend that you try. Because if you look through the list, there's different applications, different activities. It's not just, again, a glorified internet search. It's the recap a meeting, the summarize an email thread. I literally also love this one. Who hasn't got an email with like 10 reply alls on it? And then they bring you in at the last minute and say, hey, Julie, like, please, FYI, see below. And I'm just like, oh my gosh, again, that's going to take me 30 minutes to go through. But you could summarize it with Copilot, and then it'll tell you like pertinent information. And then if you're like, hey, I need some more information, you can just click on the link in the summary. It'll take you to that part of the email trail so you don't have to search around. So again, here's another time where you're going to be saving a lot of time. So if you have a lot of emails and a lot of this scenario, this is exactly where Copilot can help you gain productivity so you're not spending all this time on that. So just even in the first few slides, I've shown you basically a couple hours of where you're going to get your productivity back. And then if you do the math on, how much you make or how much your people make, the cost of Copilot, and then how much time they're getting back, it's a no-brainer. But here we get to security. And I just want, and I want to hand it over to Nick. He's going to go over the security and governance concerns.
Julie, I feel like we got a good cop, bad cop thing going on because you just showed us about all the amazing things that Copilot can do. And now it's my job to introduce some of the scary realities. No, but in all seriousness, here's some data, here's some facts about what are the concerns out there. Because again, our job as a consultant, Info Advantage, we want to make sure that we're being honest, fair, and realistic about all of this. And one of the big concerns that we see every single day as we're having conversations with clients and prospects is, well, what are the risks and what are the issues and what are the concerns from a security perspective? And as you can see here, 80% of leaders are nervous about this. And I don't know that they're necessarily nervous about AI doing something malicious directly. It's about AI showing the wrong information to the wrong person. So how do we address those things, right, is a question that we'll get to answering here in a moment. But that's a really important part of this conversation. We need to address that. We need to find a way to operationalize that and give the peace of mind to stakeholders so that adoption and rollout can be as successful as possible. 41% of security leaders cited that the identification of risky users based on queries into AI was one of the top AI controls that they wanted to implement. Of course, this indicates things like copying sensitive content into prompts or using unapproved AI tools, because here's another reality to this whole conversation is that whether your employees have the proper permissions to use Copilot and the security is set up, whether they're using Copilot or not, AI is being used within your organization. And that's kind of the bottom line here is we need to just wrestle with that and come to grips with the fact that people are leveraging AI regardless of whether you give them permission to or not. Should they is maybe a different thing, but what we want to do is empower your employees with the proper tool, with the proper access, and also with the proper context and training so that it's delivering results that are specific to your organization, not just a public ChatGPT or a Gemini that doesn't have that context and awareness into your business. 84% want to feel more confident about managing and discovering data input into the apps and the tools. Absolutely. This tells us something important. Leaders aren't anti-AI. It's just they want to know what they don't know. And so our job, of course, is to give them that confidence moving forward and really, I think what separates us from a lot of other service providers is we're able to have this type of conversation really from the business up into the technology, right? Starting with the organization and the operational impact, and then working into the proper technology and controls. So what does Copilot have access to? Everything. And that's kind of the summary of this slide here. And I think that that's just the truth of the matter. And I don't think that that necessarily has to be a scary fact, because Microsoft has built in the proper tools with Purview that has access to obviously your data tagging and characterizations and least privilege permissions to allow this tool the proper access based on user class and user role. And these are all things built into the Microsoft 365 ecosystem. But the truth is that it does have access to everything. And I think back to watching Spider-Man on TV with my dad, and Uncle Ben used to say, with great power comes great responsibility. And I think that with AI, that is also true. So with Copilot, it comes down to putting those proper guardrails in place to address those security concerns.
All right, so thanks, Nick. I know, yeah, the good cop, bad cop. I mean, the good news is it has access to everything. It can give you the information you want. The bad news is you just got to make sure it's secure, and that's what Nick's team is going to help you with. But I do hear a lot of people say, "Oh, we don't trust Microsoft. They're like this big, huge company that, wants to rule the world." But listen, Microsoft, you do trust Microsoft because you have an Office subscription. You use Outlook, you use Excel, you use PowerPoint. Microsoft isn't looking to say like, "Hey, what are all these companies creating? And we're going to steal all their ideas." That's not how it works, and that's not how it is with Copilot. So your data is your data. Microsoft doesn't want your data. It is not used to train the models. So I think that's what's important. You'll hear about it on the next slide. But the data doesn't go anywhere. It stays within your company tenant or your information, and it is protected at all steps. It's encrypted. So it's encrypted. It doesn't go anywhere. You don't have to worry about that. And there is this copyright commitment that if you search something in Copilot and something comes back and you use it and it was copyrighted, there's some legal remedies that if someone sues you for that. But I haven't seen that happen. But just they're saying, listen, it's a responsible AI. We're not using your data. We're making sure it's safe for you to use. And so this is more what I'm talking about is Copilot has enterprise data protection. So you may already see the free Copilot chat is already available to you if you have an Office subscription. And you may see the little icon in the upper right-hand corner of some of your applications, just like daring you to click on it. So just click on it, and then you'll be using the free version of Copilot. But even the free version, which is sort of like a Copilot Lite, it has the enterprise data security. So nothing is going outside of your tenant. There's encryption at all aspects of it. There's privacy, this access control, compliance. It can be HIPAA compliant, and then the boundary enforcement. So I just want to take this time just to say, if you're using a different tool, just know that Copilot, 'cause I don't think I go over this in this deck, and maybe we can do another version at like a 200 level. But Copilot is multi-model. So Microsoft has like a 30% interest in OpenAI. And OpenAI owns ChatGPT, which sounds familiar, right? And guess what? ChatGPT is the name of their tool, but the model it runs on is called GPT like 5.x, whatever the latest version is. Guess what Copilot runs on? GPT 5.x. So if you're using ChatGPT, the data and everything that you're putting in there is training the model, is going out onto the internet, could potentially be found by other people. If you're doing the same exact prompting and things in Copilot, it does not leave, and it has the same prompt results because it's using GPT-5. And then it's also using Anthropic in some of its agents. So you can actually choose which model you want to be using. But even with those, you have the enterprise data protection available to you at all times. So even like at my company, we are not allowed to use any other AI tool besides Copilot, obviously. All right, and then back to Nick.
All right, so one of the things that we wanted to kind of show and document is ROI, because that is a very fair question that we get a lot is, I'm willing to invest in this if you can show me that return on our investment. And as we work through some of these slides, we have some examples here, looking at manufacturing, construction, professional services, and nonprofits. Really what we're talking about is we're talking about the optimization of time. And so as we look here at the first example in manufacturing, especially with a manufacturing background, I came from a global manufacturer, worked for one, and our whole mantra was, how do we make changes quickly? Because we're producing a ton of product, but we have competitors that are doing the same thing. And so how can we change and make changes on the plant floor quicker, more effectively? And that way, our customers choose us because we have that ability to adapt and change. And a lot of that comes down to data. And so if we look at production managers, they spend 8 to 10 hours weekly compiling reports. By the time those reports are done and delivered, oftentimes that data is outdated. And so with Copilot, you can see a 4-hour time savings per week, which is where that $9,000 comes from in manufacturing. We can see also in professional services, legal and financial, very similar scenario here. We're in professional services. We all know how expensive advisors can be and things like that. It's all about accuracy and quality of data. And so we're looking at legal teams across our customer base and advisors, attorneys. They've got to personalize this information and provide quality output and accuracy here. So again, this is a single employee, 2 hours, per week with an estimated ROI of 4,500. I'll also just say we're trying to be fair. Obviously, with these estimates, Microsoft might say they're much higher. This is a combination of Microsoft, what they're saying, and then what we're seeing in the real world, just to be fair. Construction, so obviously project managers, they're juggling projects and spending 6 to 8 hours weekly, status reports, change order tracking, different things like that. $5,100 is kind of a fair estimate here with a 2-hour savings per week. In construction. And then nonprofits, moving on to a world we're very familiar with. Nonprofits spend 4 to 6 hours weekly drafting, I'll just say documentation, just because there's a ton here that they need to compile and have on file in the form of a document, whether it's board meeting minutes, policy changes, things like that. So obviously very necessary for nonprofits. And so the 2-hour savings there per week account for those types of things where, those summarizations can take place, that documentation can be drafted for final approval, and it really helps, steward their cause to help them serve their mission better. And obviously here, the monetary value of $3,800 annual value.
All right, thanks, Nick. And then just wanted to, again, with this slide, two things. Again, want to show you that Copilot has a use for basically anyone in any role in your company, in your environment, whether you can think of the use cases or not. That's something that Nick's team can help you with. But again, like HR, my original example, obviously marketing, sales. Someone just asked a question about, can it integrate with the CRM, and it does. And we have demos we can show you. It is amazing. Like, you can have a Teams meeting about an opportunity, and you can use Copilot to then put that opportunity into CRM, which I would love because I'm terrible at like updating my pipeline. Like, if there's new people that were added in, it'll automatically create contacts for those people. It'll suggest meeting times. It'll put the meeting information in there. It will literally blow your mind, and your salespeople will be in love with you. So just know that there's a lot of, just see here that there's, a lot of people in your organization that could benefit from it. And then at the top, it says like, be intentional with seed assignments and define success criteria. This is key because you're going to have people in your organization that are raising their hand and saying, I need AI, I want AI, I want to try to do it. Those are good people to start with because then they're going to use it, they're going to test it, they'll stretch it to see what they can do. And so either you can start with a couple like Copilot champions, or maybe you start with a single department and say, hey, you guys are all getting Copilot. And then this is where the defined success criteria comes in. Don't just say, all right, now you have AI, like good luck, go AI it out. No, it's like, hey, we know, just like with the sales example, like, hey, we know everyone struggles with updating CRM with pipeline opportunities. Here's how you can use it to do this. And this is how we want you to do it. And then you check back in with that team, like maybe once a week or every other week, and just say, how's it going? Are you using it? What are you finding? Any obstacles? And then once they get it and they're loving it, then that you can share those successes out with other departments. And then everyone else is going to be like, hey, why do they get it? And I can't get it. So the best way to really start is just be very meaningful with who gets the licenses and defining that criteria upfront. All right, back to Nick. Okay, good.
Yep. No, Julie, I was going to say I couldn't agree more. I think looking at the ROI slides and things like that, I just want to make one thing clear too, is that Copilot is not, we're not replacing people with Copilot, right? It's giving more time back to the team that you have so that they can be more productive doing what only they can do. And now we're looking into like, well, what does that look like to actually implement and roll it out? And this isn't magic. As Julie was saying, like there's a structured approach that really helps drive the success of the adoption and just the overall, like I was saying before, the ROI and the measurable success of an implementation like Copilot so that your team can do higher value work. That's really what we're talking about here. And so we've developed a structured approach at InfoAdvantage. That's, I mean, one of the things that we feel makes us different is we want to start with facts, data, and structure to make sure that anything we do is implemented with a high degree of success. So in these phases, our goal is really to start small. And so we want to first begin by assessing the readiness, and that's looking at things like your licensing, of course, looking at some of the foundational components to your security to make sure that not only do you have the licensing for Copilot, but that you have the proper tools in place to be able to harden your tenant and ensure that that hardened tenant doesn't deviate over time, because this isn't just a single point in time, it's done, it's fixed. There has to be this tracking to make sure that things don't slip away from that hardened status once it's been established. And that's something that we're very proud at InfoAdvantage to say that we've included shameless plug into our suite of managed services by as a part of our standard offering is this tenant hardening as a service where we're monitoring your tenant and making sure that not only does it establish a compliant and hardened status, but it also maintains that over time and that we're not drifting away from that as time goes on or as Microsoft adds things and capabilities and features to their tenants. So really proud of that and something that I'm proud to say we're offering as a standard across the board for all of our clients. We're also going to look at the workflow that you have or the workflows that you have, right, across departments, establishing user classes and user groups because we of course we understand technology. That's the business that we're in, but we also need to understand your business. And so this is a conversation that really is a two-way street and something that we will be offering at the end of this webinar is a consultation for us to help understand where those opportunities really are. And so the assessment phase and the readiness phase is really kind of a full breadth of both technical and operational to help us understand where the potential is for AI adoption and the highest return. Then we're going to look at phase two, which of course is to prepare the environment. I mentioned Microsoft Purview before, but making sure that those policies are in place, that the data governance is in place, that least privilege is in place, and that we have the proper guardrails by way of policy to make sure that we're as secure, of course, as possible, kind of addressing the AI has access to everything slide from earlier. And then once we start looking at the third phase, this is really where we're going to pilot identifying those user groups within your organization, hands-on workshops that are really tailored to those specific user classes within the departments. And then we're also going to, at the same time, give chat to the people that maybe aren't the first pilot users so that they can start using that, right? So we're going to do, again, kind of like this structured approach where as we identify the specific workflows, we're also going to start getting users familiar with, comfortable with, and using Copilot in general, just with the chat feature, just to start to warm them up to what's coming, right? As we continue to roll this out down the road across departments. And then this is where we're going to also start to document the time savings as well as user acceptance to ensure that a wider deployment is as successful as possible. We want to have those measurable ROIs, and in phase 3, this is where we start to see them. And then in phase 4, we're approaching this mentorship, this kind of train the trainer type approach where the departments that currently have Copilot, those are our champions. And we're going to pair them with departments that are going to start to see the rollout of Copilot in the future. And as we do that, we're going to start to customize and tune as well. There is no one size fits all. So we're going to make sure that any tweaks and changes that need to be made along the way are being done in real time as we discover them. And then we're going to continue to operationalize the use of Copilot and look for continuous ways to improve.
All right. So, common pitfalls to avoid. I feel like we've already talked about some of them, but the insufficient, I mean, you can read it, insufficient change management and end user training. I'll just share with you that when I first got Copilot, even in my organization, they literally just sent out an email and said, hey, have at it. And they didn't do any training. And I definitely had people on my team that never used it. And, obviously that is not a good investment of your money if you're going to be making the decision to implement AI and then people not using it. And that was because they didn't give us any training. And also I just think like you definitely need like an owner or an executive person to own the AI implementation and training like in your organization. Not going through the security, not having the ongoing support. I mean, there's all these things that could lead to an unsuccessful deployment. But as Nick was saying, going through the phases, that's something that his team will make sure that you guys have you're going through the right steps to make sure that you don't run into any of these pitfalls.
And looking at next steps. So ROI doesn't come from just giving Copilot to everyone, right? It comes from putting it in front of the people that have the high time value work first. So this can't just be like we mentioned before, let's flip it on for all users and just see what happens. What we want to do, of course, is we want to tie Copilot to specific workflows because those workflows are already costing you money. They're costing you something. I was just having a conversation with a customer of ours or a law firm, and they were talking about this paper trail process that they have with like a third party, and then they've hired someone just to basically preview the documentation before it gets in the hands of an attorney. And I was thinking, wow, what an awesome opportunity for something like Copilot to help them streamline this workflow that sounds honestly terrible. And so how can we have those conversations more and more with customers is really a question that we're asking all the time. And really one of the benefits of being a client of InfoAdvantage is that we're doing these quarterly business reviews with you every 3 months. And this is something that we're going to plug in as a standard thing, a standard topic of conversation across all of our customers. And if you're not a customer of InfoAdvantage here today on the webinar, then this is a great opportunity for you to sit down with us and we can talk to you more about that approach that we have and start the conversation about the readiness and maybe where you fall in that category. How ready are you? What's your licensing status? And then really help you understand where this financially and how this financially makes sense for your business. So, yeah, I think that's it, right, Ricky? We're going to be in the Q&A now.
Yes, we are moving to the Q&A now. I know there's been a lot of good discussion here in the chat, but if anyone has any questions that they would like to ask, now's your opportunity. I'll give it a second to see if anyone does have any questions. So in the meantime, just as a reminder to look for the email with the recorded webinar and some additional resources. Got a question. Does Copilot subscription allow for building agents to actually do certain tasks?
All right, I'll take that one. So yeah, so if you have a paid version of Copilot, I mean, I will say Copilot chat, you can do it, but then there's additional costs. So if you have a paid version of Copilot, you already have access to what's called like the Copilot Studio user registration, which gives you the ability to create, tests, and publish agents. So if you want to create an agent, you want to use an agent, having the Copilot, a paid Copilot license gives you the ability to do that. Now, I will just tell you that if you're going to be doing complex agents where it might be using third-party connectors and very like multiple processes, you may want to get this $0 Copilot Studio user registration SKU at $0. But some of those agents may incur what we're going to call like a Copilot credit or like a billing cost. And that's something that the Info Advantage team can talk to you, because not every agent incurs billing costs. Like that HR agent, which we just talked about, it's something internal. It's your own knowledge source and you're pointing it to there and it's getting it back. May not have any Copilot credits or cost to it. But if you're saying, hey, I need you to go out to HubSpot and then I need you to look at this financial database and this and create all these reports, that may incur Copilot credits, and there's a way to set up different billing plans for that. And that's something that Nick's team can also help you with. And so, yeah, you may need to pay more for the agents depending on the type of agents that you create.
Great. Do we have any other questions? So will Info Advantage help us create agents doing complex tasks?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think that that's something that we've done internally. We continue to have conversations with customers about. So definitely willing to kind of learn more about what that entails, where the connectors need to be, what the data source is, where the training needs to happen. All of those questions, of course, can be answered with quick chat on the phone. But then really when we start to get practical, I think the approach that we talked about before is important to kind of really let that sink in, that this isn't, again, just a flip it on, turn it on, and see the success out the door. Having the use case properly defined, having the proper controls in place, having the proper success criteria and buy-in from stakeholders, all of that is super important. So I'm hesitant to just answer with a blanket yes, even though it could be that simple. I think the important fact is that there could be some steps prior to us getting that end result that you hope for. And really the point of that is so that we can properly see the return and the success of an agent like that. Hopefully that helps.
Yeah, Nick's, someone put in the chat, could a Copilot agent provide construction takeoff work? I'm gonna have to say I'm not familiar with like takeoff work, but I would just say Matt, who put this question in, that's definitely something that the Info Advantage team can look at. I'm not going to just say Copilot can do anything and everything, it's magic, but it can it will automate business processes. It has the ability, Microsoft's already created hundreds and hundreds of connectors to other applications and databases. If there's one not already created, their team can actually help you create a connector and do all this. So I would just say for that, definitely get with the Info Advantage team, and that way they can do like a scope of work of what exactly all that is and see where Copilot could help automate that.
Yeah, and that kind of moves into our next slide. So if anyone on here who is not our current client and would like to have a meeting with Nick and his team, you can just scan the QR code and it'll set up a complimentary 30-minute meeting with Nick. and he can talk through everything and kind of learn more about what you're looking to do, and that. And like Nick mentioned during the quarterly QBRs, quarterly business reviews, we are going to be implementing the different assessments for our clients. So we have one other question. I think, okay. So yes. If anyone has any other last minute questions, I'll give you a chance to ask them now. We also have one other thing that is coming up for both our clients and anyone who would just like to learn more about Info Advantage. And that is, we are doing a movie premiere of The Mandalorian and Grogu. It is going to be on Thursday, May 21st at Cinemark Tinseltown. So if you are interested in attending, you can scan the QR code for any of our current clients. We will be sending out an official email probably tomorrow that'll be coming from our president, Linda Weller. So you can look forward to seeing that. So you could also sign up for this event. We do expect the spots to fill up quickly. So if you are interested, scan it now and sign up for this really fun event. And then that is all. Nick and Julie, did you have anything else that you wanted to add before we, hop off here?
I just want to thank everyone for coming, and everyone stayed, even though I think we went over, a little bit of time, so I appreciate it. I'm very excited to be working with Info Advantage on Copilot opportunities, and I definitely know that based on the chat, there's a lot of questions about agents and how they work and how to manage them, and that's something that the team can help you with, something that I can, also be involved in, or maybe we do I don't want to sign them up, but maybe we do another webinar like just on the agents to help answer questions. So that's definitely, just want to thank you for it. And just as a reminder, like, Copilot is, more than just like a SKU. It's your AI assistant. Just imagine having an assistant with you, whatever role you're in, someone who's never tired, who has the answers, who doesn't talk back, gives you the information you want in a timely manner, and you can, review it and make your own changes, make it yours. Like, is that something that you would pay for less than $1 a day to be able to do any of these activities that we talked about? And I feel like the answer should be yes. And if given the right process with a pilot program and making sure everything is secure, is going to be a very positive outcome for your companies.
Great. I know we had one other question. Dan would like to know if, Julie, if you have more time, if he can talk more to you about Copilot.
I do have a few minutes, but I'm actually doing a 4-hour Copilot training in a couple hours. So I can do maybe like 15 more minutes, and then I will need to go. But I don't know if Dan, if you want to set up a call and we can do it separately.
I don't know if I can, because it's in the settings. Yeah, we can get you in touch with Julie, and you guys could, schedule something to learn more. That's probably the best way to do that, if that's okay.
Yeah, that might work. I do need to get ready for that thing, but yeah, just definitely appreciate everyone's and all the questions, which I love it. When there's no questions, I feel like maybe it didn't hit in the right, people aren't understanding it. So I definitely appreciate all the questions. I'm looking forward to more conversations.
Yes. And again, thank you, Nick. Thank you, Julie. And thank you all of you for attending our webinar today. And thank you, and have a great day.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.